What's up there? This is Mr. Mike Kaufman, and in this video I'm going to show you how to organize and how to edit your podcast in GarageBand, including recording different tracks, including adding music, and making sure that you're able to adjust the volume and quality and put it all together so in the end you have a quality podcast that people want to listen to. Alright, let's get started. Alright, so here you'll see that in GarageBand, I already have a bunch of things recorded and added to my podcast episode. I have an introduction, segment intro, a segment, as well as some music. And notice that I've named them accordingly. Right? I've done this to keep my work very organized. What I think is best is to get all your ideas and all your elements ready to go and then put it all together. Just like if you're going to cook something. You want to take out all your ingredients and have them ready and then put it together to make a delicious meal. That's what we're going to do with our podcast. Now to show you how to add a new track and how to record it and rename it, I'm going to do my outro right now. To add a new track, I simply go up to the top menu bar, click track, and choose new track. It's going to ask me what type of track it is. In this case it's audio, as well as a recording from a microphone. I'll choose that, click create. Right there it is, my audio 5. Now the first thing I want to do is I want to make sure that we get some pre-equalization and adjustment going on there from the presets on GarageBand. Essentially what that means is GarageBand has all types of recording settings, and I want to use narration vocals so it sounds best. Alright, now I got my blue snowball, my external microphone chosen. I'm now going to click record. That's it for the Middle School Tech Podcast, taking a look at how to create and organize quality podcasts that your audience wants to listen to. That's it for Mr. Mike Kaufman. I'm out. Alright, so in that, I outroed my episode, gave a little sign off, and I'm done. Now I do want to do some basic edits to it, right? And if you're not sure how, or you want some more in-depth look at that, please check out my other video on how to record narration in GarageBand. Now this track is selected. I know that because it's highlighted. Right now that one's selected. All right, so I got it selected. I want to move my playhead to the part that I want to cut. Just right about there. I can always zoom in a little bit. There we go. Slide that over. And now I can either do a secondary click and do split a playhead, or I want to cut the back end off. Got to select that track part again, move my playhead. You can also do Command T on a MacBook, and that will automatically do that. Alright, now I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Alright, now that I have each one of my tracks edited and cleaned up, I'm now ready to organize. The first thing I want to do is I want to rename each region in the various tracks so I know which one is which. For example, my first track, Introduction, I have two distinct or two different regions. One for the introduction of my actual episode, and the second one for the introduction to my podcast. To rename it, I will secondary click over this region, and then choose Rename Region. I'll name this one Episode. The second region is for Podcast. Secondary click, Rename Regions, Podcast. Now, I'm going to do the same thing for my music. Notice I've already divided it into 4 sections because the song has different feels, different amount of energy to it, and will work great for different parts of my podcast. For example, the beginning is a little more relaxed. That would be great for background. So I'll secondary click and rename that background. The second section has a little more energy. That might work great for segment transition. Secondary click, segment. The second one as well. The last section's got the most energy. That will work great for my intro and outro. Great. Now I've finished renaming the different regions for each of my tracks. Now I want to get the tracks in order. To do that, I'm going to zoom out just a little more. All right, the first thing I want to do is I want my episode to start off with the episode introduction. And then I want to have a little bit of music. So I'm going to bring the podcast introduction over a little while. After I introduce the podcast, I'll start with segment 1 intro, then segment 1, and then finally my outro. And notice I'm leaving little spaces in between for a little bit of fill music. Notice it's very easy to organize when you have your tracks named as well as your segments. Next thing I want to do is get my music in the right order. I notice my intro and outro music's a little bit way too long, so I'm going to drag and shorten the length of that clip. Put a little outro music right around there. I'm going to copy and also put it at the beginning. Before I do that, let me move these 3 sections over. Select, copy, paste. All right? Let me make that one a little bit smaller. All right, I might want then a little bit of background music as I'm talking. Here's a section transition. Here's another section transition. And notice I'm not worrying about it being lined up perfectly. Now that I have the general layout, I want to zoom in and make it look and sound good. All right, let's unmute my introduction and see how it sounds with the music.
In this episode, we are talking podcasts, how to record, organize, and edit your thoughts to effectively share your ideas.
Notice the music comes in at the right place, however it's way too loud and you can't hear my voice. So what I need to do now is to adjust the volume just on my music track. I'm going to have to do this throughout my podcast to make sure that the music does its job by giving energy and signaling for transitions, but however does not drown out my voice. Let's learn how to do that now. All right, now that I've got my sound and lined up with my speaking, I want to again adjust the volume because if we listen,
organize and edit your thoughts to
it's too loud, right? The music is covered up my voice. So what I'm going to do is go up to mix and I'm going to click show automation, and notice there's a shortcut key there which is A. So in the future, all I have to do to bring up automation is click on the keyboard A. All right, notice I got my volume here. I'm going to select the track and I'm going to choose some keyframes, right? I want this to start from the very beginning and I want it to be a little bit lower, then I want it to fade up to right about when my speaking stops. I move that over so I can line it up perfectly. All right, I'm going to bring that down. All right, so now let's give it a listen.
record, organize, and edit your thoughts to effectively share your ideas. Welcome to the Middle School Tech Podcast with your host, MrMikeKaufman.
All right, so same thing now. Again, I want it to slowly fade out. I'm actually going to bring a background sound in there, so I want it to fade then into the background. So again, click my play there. Go to the end of it. And maybe another one right there. And let's keep that volume down. Let's give it a listen so we can adjust to see how it sounds.
Welcome to the Middle School Tech Podcast with your host, MrMikeKaufman, Middle School Technology Teacher at the American School of Guadalajara. Let's get started in 3, 2, 1.
All right, and then at that point of the 3, 2, 1, I want that music to come back in, right? So we're going to actually have to copy over that intro, outro, copy. I want it to come in right there, paste. And again, we want that volume then to shoot up. So let's pop one right over there. See how that sounds.
Let's get started in 3, 2, 1.
I want that to come in a little bit sooner. Let's drag that over. And let's drag that over. Let's get that loud. Right about there. All right, let's give that now a listen.
Guadalajara. Let's get started in 3, 2, 1.
I want that 1. I want that volume to be lined up right on my 1. Right there. So let's just drag it right to there. Let's give one last listen.
Let's get started in 3, 2, 1.
All right, I'm going to let that play out, and now notice I'm going to have to do some adjusting, right? My segment 1 intro's got to come right there. Let's unmute it and jump ahead to the little playhead.
In this first segment, we're going to take a look at the different...
Now again, it sounds a little bit silly if it just hops right out there, so let's actually expand that a little bit. And again, let's get some fade going on there. See how that listens.
In this first segment, we're going to take a look at the different parts of a podcast, including introductions.
I'm going to start that fade a little bit sooner, but other than that, I liked it.
In this first segment, we're going to take a look at the different parts of...
I want to get that drop off a little bit faster, so I'm going to add another keyframe. And let's try that. I think that'll sound good now.
In this first segment, we're going to take a look at the different parts of a podcast, including introductions,
and notice here, I've got no music, right? Because realistically, background music is fine for certain parts, but I don't want it for all different parts, all right? So now at the end of this section transition, again, I'm going to have to give segment 1, slide that over a little bit. Here's my section transition track, and because it's named, I can easily see it, right? Slide that over. I want that to be pretty short. And again, I'm going to do some keyframes here. Let's have that shoot up right around there. I think I'm actually going to slide that over a teeny bit, right? So you notice it's right at the end of me speaking. That's good. Let's shoot that up. And then again, when I start talking right around there, a little before, let's fade that out pretty fast. And then when I'm done, track is done, let's fade that out totally. Let's give that a listen.
Use music to bring all those segments and sections together. Let's get going.
I forgot to unmute that second section, so let's listen to that segue again, see how it sounds.
In this segment, we're talking about the different parts of a podcast. The first...
Perfect, right? So the sound really is good. I'm going to zoom out again because this segment's pretty long. That's my outro. I can slide it over. This, I can actually probably delete. Actually, I'll do a little section transition before I do my outro. Put that in there. Have it overlap a little bit, This last one I'm not going to need. Delete. And again, let's zoom in so we can, let's move my playhead. Let's zoom in so I can see some more editing. All right, let's give it a listen. Let's unmute this section as well.
From your ideas.
All right, so again, I want that music. Start raising up right around there. Shoot that up to nice and 0. Get the good sounds. Give that a listen.
The music is there to enhance, not to take away from your ideas.
And there it is. I'm going to start my outro. So it's at a key playhead. Just drop that down pretty fast. See how that actually I might be able to keep that in my outro. Let's give it a listen.
That's it for the Middle School Tech Podcast, taking a look at how to create an
See, I'm going to want that intro outro music pushed up right against there.
The Middle School Tech Podcast, taking a look at how to create and organize quality podcasts that your audience wants to listen to. That's it for MrMikeKaufman. I'm out.
And then again, right when I'm about to say I'm out, I want that music to shoot up. Back up to 0. Let's give that a listen again.
That's it for MrMikeKaufman. I'm out.
And then maybe I want to just fade it out to the very end. And then maybe I want to cut it right around there. And I'm going to do my Command T, split the playhead. Oops, got to highlight it first. Command T, boom, delete. And there it is. Now I zoom out and let's take a look. All right, so there it is, right? There is my podcast. Again, reviewing some of these concepts that we covered here, this idea of having multiple tracks, right, for the different parts of my podcast, keeping them separate. And the reason why we like that is it gives our ability to adjust them separately and move them around separately. I've got my background music as a separate track. And then very important, I've adjusted the sound of my background music depending on when I'm speaking and when I'm not, to have the music lower or louder, so that way the music enhances and does not take away from my ideas. Last thing, when I'm done, I'm going to go up and click share, export my song to disk as an MP3, and I am done. Alright, that is it. That is a pretty in-depth look at how to organize different segments of a podcast, as well as how to edit and enhance them all in GarageBand, and how you can share your ideas effectively so that your audience wants to listen to your podcasts. Good luck.